Live from the room of Mirror Studio, you're listening to Foster Brothers on Point. Turn your selector switch to the fire position. The show is now live. I'm Hayes Foster. My brother Stephen Foster is here. We're your hosts for the show tonight. We just want to get started and say when I got here for the show this afternoon, my brother informed me that our YouTube show, Foster Brothers on Point on YouTube, has been banned in 2 countries. And we're real excited about that because that probably means that we're saying some of the right things. Tubbs, do you know what 2 countries it was that we got banned in?
You know, I checked on this afternoon, and it looks like China is one of them. I didn't have time to look around for what the other one was, but yeah, we are banned.
All right, Foster Brothers on Point, banned in China. Just wanted to let you know. All right, on to the show topic today. We're going to talk about Ares Armor, the illegal ATF raid that occurred last Saturday, and today's date is March 20th, 2014. The significance of this is there's a lot of things that laws that were violated on several levels with this illegal ATF raid. So the shop I'm talking about is Ares Armor. They're located in Oceanside, California, and they are a manufacturer of 80% complete lower receivers, AR-15 style receivers. So what a 80% lower is, if anybody, if you're wondering, if you're not a gun person, what that is it starts from a block of, there's 2 types of lower receivers. You can get a forged one, and that one it would be complete. This one is out of a piece of billet aluminum, and 80% of the machining has been completed. And the reason that 80% is significant for these lowers are because to stay within the federal firearm laws, 80% of the lower receiver can be finished. And what you would do if you're a customer, you'd come in, you'd buy an 80% finished lower from Ares Armor. And if you haven't, I recommend that you should do that. I was on their website today, and they've actually lowered prices. So what you do is you take that home, and if you have a milling machine, you could probably get it done with a drill press. What do you think, Stephen?
That's right, Hayes. You know, a lot of the YouTube videos out there are showing a lot of people doing it with a drill press. You know, something you could pick up at Sears or your local hardware store. Preferably a milling machine. You're going to get smoother results, but really for a functional receiver, I've seen people use Dremel tools to get it out. And the Ares Armor, one of the one that was targeted by the ATF had the white plastic insert, which they were claiming the receiver was manufactured. Then they injected the insert to make it 80%, which they claim it was the opposite. But the nice thing about the white insert is it's a guide. It guides you. When you start getting towards the black section or the colored section outside of white, that's where you stop.
Yeah, so you don't machine into something that you don't want to and cause a problem with the function of the lower receiver.
One thing I was wanting to touch on is I was seeing that some of these 80% lower companies were getting letters of determination from the ATF to basically state that it's been approved by the ATF. The one in dispute with the ATF with Ares Armor does not have a letter. That doesn't mean it's illegal. It just means they haven't gone and maybe taken that extra step. So it doesn't mean that they're in the wrong. One thing I'm reading a letter of determination from another company, and here's what it talks about. It says, as determined that an AR-15 receiver which has no matching or any kind of preformed in the area of the trigger or hammer recess, it might be classified as a firearm. So it's saying that you can't. There's certain areas you can't pre-machine.
And the trigger recess would be where you would drop your fire control group in or your trigger parts.
And this includes the pivot pin, the takedown pinholes, and the takedown pin lug. So it's the trigger and the hammer recess areas are some of the main areas they're pointing out, and that is the area that's white on the Aries armor in question receiver. Which, if what they're stating is true, that the recessed white area was manufactured first and then the injection was around it, there's no laws being broken.
Yeah, and you're probably wondering, well, what's the big deal about a 80% finished lower receiver? Why should I care about that? Well, I actually learned something myself. Apparently, under federal law, you can finish one of these off yourself, and you do not have to go through the FFL background check. So basically, you stay off of any gun database that could be used in the future for confiscation. You just basically stay under the radar, so you don't have to have it serialized when you finish it in your own garage or wherever you finish it. And so I do see. Until I started looking at this story closer, I didn't think it was a big deal either. But then I said, that's kind of a nice thing, being able to stay out of government databases.
Well, it's been long suspected that when you get your background checked, they're logging that information, and there's been people that have come forward in the past that have said, yes, in fact, this information is being held, even though there's lots of laws on the books that, states that they shouldn't. Also, there's a law, or it's part of the Constitution, that there shouldn't be any undue search and seizure, just like occurred on Aries.
Yeah, so that's the item that Aries Armor produces, and like I said, I think I might actually break down and order one now. They seem to be a reasonable price. You can finish them off in your own garage if you want. So let's get back to the what occurred with this. What occurred? So the ATF, they wanted to. It looks like they wanted the customer list, those people who had purchased these 80% finished lower receivers. And you're probably thinking, well, why do they care about the customer list? Well, I think we all know what goes on with lists. When they get a list, that's the first step towards confiscation. So they've got their target list. So they approached the owner of Aries Armor, and let's see, what's his last name? I think it's
starts with a D.
Yeah, hold on, I've got it in the show notes here. I apologize. Okay, it's his name is Demetrios Karas, and he's a businessman like anybody else, trying to make money and try to stay within the laws that are set. And they approached him first and asked the owner of Aries Armor, Mr. Karas, to turn over that list of customers. Well, like I said, this is what Mr. Karas has let out to the media at this point, that he told them no because that would violate the privacy of his customers. Then the ATF agents said, well, we would like to keep this out of the legal system if we could. So they basically ATF came back with a veiled threat, like, hey, we'll take this as far as we need to get that list. So that was the conversation. So here's what's interesting, and maybe I don't know if there's any precedence to this. I'm not a lawyer and I don't study law. I know very general things, like you see off the TV shows. That's the only reason I know some of the law terminology. Aries Armor decided to get a restraining order from the ATF, and the judge agreed. In fact, let's see, what's the judge's name?
The restraining order is actually very similar to an injunction. It's a court order indicating that there might be a legal mishandling of the situation. It's going to allow them to continue their business.
Right. So they went in front of U.S. District Court Judge Janice L. Sammartino, and this is what was said in court. This is on the court records. The court hereby orders that any steps to deprive Aries Armor of the property shall not be executed until after the court hold a hearing as to whether a preliminary injunction should issue. So basically they're saying that nothing's going to be done by the ATF until it goes in front of the court, which it's very reasonable. I mean, basically Aries Armor, they're trying to protect not only their business, their assets, and their customers' privacy at this point. So they used the law legally within the bounds of the law, and did what they thought was the correct thing to do. Well, they got raided anyway by yet another lawless alphabet agency, the BATFE.
What I find interesting is the products that Aries sold to the public, the way it was manufactured wouldn't inhibit the sale of it, because if it's 80%, then that's what it is. So no law's been broken by any of the customers. What the ATF was claiming was it was the way it was manufactured. They claimed that the receiver was built and then injected to fill that void that we mentioned earlier that needed to be filled around the trigger group. And that void, at that point during the manufacturing process, it was beyond 80%. So that's where the ATF was challenging them on. So the question is why do you need that customer list? Because at no point were these items, illegal for the customers to ever obtain.
That's right, Tubbs. And I forgot to mention, before the ATF raided Aries Armor, after there was a injunction in place, so everyone had their day in court, it looks as if the ATF went to the same judge, what's his last name? Sammartino, U.S. District Court Judge there in California, and he was possibly coerced by the ATF, and it could also be an ex parte, and that's Latin for a legal proceeding brought by one person in the absence and without representation or notification of other parties involved. So, and that's just a legal term. So basically, the ATF met with the judge, said, "Hey, we need you to see things our way, Your Honor," and the judge agreed, and so basically, Aries Armor did not get their day in court. They got raided. They showed up in full battle rattle. They had bulletproof vest, Kevlar helmets, M16 full auto, ready to go, locked, loaded, probably chambered.
Bulletproof vest, helmets.
So, the typical scare tactics you see from an alphabet agency. They show up, there's kids in the shop, with their parents shopping. It's just a normal day. Now, in Aries Armor defense, I believe they did offer the agents donuts. So that was a very good peace offering, I have to say.
And going back to the judge, Hayes, the ATF actually did some judge shopping, because the most local judge there, had granted the restraining order in order for them to make the determination so it wouldn't interrupt business. But the ATF went to find another judge that would override that. They took it to a higher judge, and, it's well known that, you can do some judge shopping among the legal communities, and that's exactly what the ATF did. It's just an unscrupulous activity, and it just goes to show that they're willing to bend the rules just like any other government agency is willing to do.
Yeah, and it's sad to see that. Aries Armor, they wanted their day in court. They were denied their day in court. Once again, we've got some lawlessness going on in the lawless land of the USA. We've seen it a lot. In fact, apparently the ATF is a repeat offender in these matters. Everyone knows they use what I consider probably comical tactics. They set up, there's instances of them setting up fake drug deals with fake drugs, to try to get low-level street dealers to bite on things like that. And we won't even go into the Fast and Furious, where an ATF whistleblower came out and said, "Hey, we're letting rifles walk into Mexico. They're causing death on both sides of the border, and then we're going to blame it on the Second Amendment. Really,
the ATF, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, needs to be banished, outlawed, and dismantled. They're responsible for Fast and Furious. They're responsible for the death of hundreds of people at Waco. Their death, toll on the Oklahoma City bombing that they, participated in was in the thousands. It's just, in the Ruby Ridge, I mean, this whole organization is just a death club. It's the modern day SS. They're going around killing people, staging false flags left and right. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Stephen, you nailed it. They're a death cult. Let's not forget about Waco, Texas. The big boys on the scene there, same crew, different day. ATF. They burn down a compound, a religious compound, and then say, "Oh well, we didn't burn it down." And there's even audio tape of them saying, "Burn it down." I really don't. It's a lawless organization. They're absolutely out of control.
They have no purpose. They serve no purpose. The only thing that they do is control tobacco sales and create a system for us to sign up if we purchase a gun. What's the point? Shut them down. I'm telling you, I'm sick of it.
Lawlessness. That's what it all comes down to. Lawlessness.
And there was a quote that I've read that they said that one of the ATF agents during the Aries raid said that, "Oh, this is fun. I enjoy doing a raid on a gun shop," as if he's a freaking kid going on a field trip.
I'm all right. Let's
look. You need to calm down first, Hayes. You're going to break some mirrors in here.
Yeah, it won't be the room of mirrors. It'll be the room of broken mirrors. Okay, so we got this violation of law by the ATF. They ignored the injunction that Aries Armor had in place. They got permission to do the raid through a judge using ex parte. So you've got and they did confiscate the customer record list from Aries Arms. So there you've got a Fourth Amendment violation right there. These people's privacy have been violated. Now think about how many times you turn the news on and you hear about someone hacked into Target's database and got all their customer records and credit card numbers. This out-of-control agency did that in broad daylight, and no one did a damn thing about it.
That's right, Hayes. And what you have to think about is there's two ways to view this. Either, number one, Aries is actually in the wrong and they violated the law, or they were not in the wrong. Either way, there's no need for them to have the client list or the customer list, is because they're not in the wrong. The customers are not in the wrong. And they might say they might need to be material witnesses, if they've obtained something from a legal means. But for these customers to obtain it, it's not illegal. And I'm just frustrated to see that, they're going after the list, and we all know what this means. They're probably got legislation coming down the pipe to, end the 80% receivers, or, this is going to be part of the gun grab plan for Obama's term. I mean, it's obvious. It's just glaringly obvious what this is about.
So by all means, go to ariesarmor.com and go ahead and order you one of these 80% billet. They've got the list from the other day, but they don't have the current list right now. And I'm sure they could probably obtain it just, because we know that apparently the NSA listens to every phone call. How you doing, guys? Every text message. They intercept all data. They run it through their algorithms and look for patterns. It's just more statism. It's more, daddy government's going to save us all from the bad guns. It's out of control.
A speech Rand Paul gave this week, he's talking about how the politicians, the representatives, the senators are scared because they know that they're being monitored by a rogue agency, whether it's the CIA or the FBI or, the NSA. They're monitoring them, and they don't feel comfortable making conversations because we all know that you can twist words. I can say, I own guns, and they could twist that and to say, oh, well, he owns illegal guns. And you're like, no, that's not what I meant. I mean, this is what government does now. Our government is out of control. There needs to be some checks and balances. You need to vote all your state representatives, all your senators out if they're going the wrong direction on this.
And Tubbs, I was just thinking about this. The whole existence of the ATF itself is a violation of the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed upon. It's just more unnecessary bureaucracy to incrementally take the United States citizens' rights. That's all it is.
That's right. I'm just fed up with it, and I just want to make this announcement that if you are into guns and if you're looking to get an AR-15, and I suggest getting 80% and build it out yourself. You may not want to take it to a machine shop and have them do it for you. I think the laws restrict that. You're probably going to want to do it yourself to stay in the legal bounds. But everyone should do this. If they want to come and attack us, this is a cheap way to fight back. These things are running between $50 to $80. Everyone should be able to afford it once you have your receiver. Maybe the following year, if you're money stricken, you can build upon it. But everyone needs to go out and get an 80% receiver just to fight back on this.
I agree with that. That's probably, vote with your dollars. Tubbs, you nailed it. We're going to take a commercial break. Foster Brothers on Point would like to thank MyOneSupply.com for making this show possible. MyOneSupply.com, suppliers of fine firearm and tactical gear. MyOneSupply.com carries Magpul, Eberly Stock, Trigicon, EOTech, and many more top-shelf brands. MyOneSupply.com offers genuine military surplus and survival items. From the battlefield to your front door, check out MyOneSupply.com.
And as far as the 80% receivers, I haven't ordered mine yet because I'm wanting to get the one that's in question through Aries. That's the exact one I'm looking for. Because I dare the ATF to come in and question a legal product, that I own, because they'll be in violation. It'll just be another lawsuit. I guarantee you, from what I was reading, the top lawyer with the NRA is involved with this case with Aries now. The ATF will lose because they are in the wrong. And when they're in the wrong, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose hard. And they're not going to be happy about it because it's going to be a disgrace. But guess what? It's a publicity stunt at this point. The ATF, it's backfired. Guess what? Everyone's going to be buying 80% now.
Yeah, they basically brought it to the attention of the American public, and there may be people who are non-gun owners listening to this broadcast. Guess what? Go out and get you 80% lower now. Go to AriesArmor.com, and if you don't like their prices, just find you 80% lower, because let's send a message. Let's do that. Let's send a message to them and let them know you will not incrementally take our rights. We will stand up and we'll fight you if we have to.
That's right. You're not going to come for our powder kegs, that's for sure. And, I challenge everyone to get an 80% lower, and just have it as whether you want it as a paperweight. They can't track these things. That's why they're mad. I see laws coming soon. They went for the AR-15s. They're trying to ban assault rifles. They're doing the gun registrations in Connecticut. What's next? They're coming after the 80% lowers. It's obvious that's their next thing on the list. The ATF is so slow to react. They probably just discovered these things existed this year.
I'm wondering if possibly there was even, maybe the ATF in California operates a little bit different. We know how strict the laws in California are about, the unicorn called the assault rifle, and we all know there is no unicorn and there is no assault rifle. But California is absolutely notorious for super strict gun laws, just like the Northeast is. They've got out-of-control politicians that have been getting by with it for so many years. They think that it's standard operating procedure, and I think the American public in these areas that there's real strict gun laws are about tired of it. At least that's the sentiment I'm picking up with.
The tide's turning, even in California. The blogs and the news that I'm reading and hearing is it's not greater than 50% that want to ban guns in California. People are waking up to the tyrannical government called the United States of America. We're going to take our powers back. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, our founding fathers warned us of the tyrannical government that can emerge. During the McCarthy trials, they were warning us of communism infiltrating. I think that's where we're at right now. Everyone needs to wake up right now.
And you look at it, and I've always said this, and it's extra apparent right now in this current administration with Obama. When you have lawlessness at the top, at the federal level, in the highest office of this country, the United States presidency, and, citizens in their daily lives see, oh, he's lawless, Obamacare. Yeah, well, they cram that through. We got, remember, what was her name? Was it Pelosi, the idiot who said something about we've got to pass a law so we can find out what's in the law? What is that? That's incompetent. That is absolutely ridiculous.
That doesn't even pass the sniff test. We can pass laws that all day long that no one has read, and when that emerges that it's just been more powers taken, more liberties, the Constitution's been dismantled, and they say, well, it's the modern era, it's a 200-year-old document. That's absurd, because guess what? Civilization has existed on this planet for thousands of years, and a lot of the basic core liberties still stand and are still important.
And I've even I read a good article today at WashingtonTimes.com, and it was called "ATF Gone Wild." There was some jokes in it, such as the ATF is the Rodney Dangerfield of law enforcement among its peers. It don't get no respect. I mean, that's what's funny about it. People actually, other law enforcement agencies, make fun of the ATF because they're kind of just running around, doing they're doing illegal activity, fake stings. They did this raid on Ares Armor. I think maybe it has to do with they're just trying to keep that budget growing every year, because if they don't, burn through some ammo and kick some doors in, they may not get as much money as they got the previous year for budget.
That's right, and some of these district attorneys down there in Southern California, the district attorney that issued this order and is given the legal backing for this illegal ATF activity in Southern California, the area in question is National City, which is south of San Diego. I don't have the district attorney's name right now, but she's well known for her liberalism, her anti-gunness. I think it's Judge Janice L. Sorrentino, and she has been known and notorious for anti-gun, and it's ridiculous. These sort of people need to get voted out. People need to wake up, because our liberties are disappearing.
Well, I know in the state of Tennessee, you can't even vote on judges around here because they're appointed by people in office. So you've got the good old boys system in place in a lot of areas. I can't say for sure with California. I know Tennessee that is the case, and that's a shame too. I think anybody in it that holds any kind of office should have to be accountable and have to be voted on. I mean, we're just at a tipping point where it's almost like government is just there to justify government. They're not really fixing any problems. They're just saying, hey, we're here and we're in charge and we'll do whatever we want.
The loyal listeners remember that I used to work in government, and I can contest that to even move up in government, you're going to have to kiss someone's butt, or you're going to have to do something illegal in order for your name to be potentially ruined before you move up, because they can always say, well, you were a part of that scandal where we started giving you all that money on the side. We were cutting you checks, or you were a consultant on the side doing your IT work when you worked in IT. This sort of stuff is occurring in government, even at the local level. Wake up. If you're concerned about government, it starts at your local and goes up to the federal. It's corrupt all the way up and down. I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, I think, and it was like I mentioned, the trickle effect, the trickle-down effect. When you see high offices in governments being out of control, you better know that it's not limited to those high offices. It's everywhere. It's a systemic problem. And I believe we're about to run out of time. Thank you for listening.
I heard this politician talking about his brand new mission. Liked his plans, but they came undone when it got around to God and guns. I don't know how he grew up, but it sure wasn't down at the hunting club. 'cause if it was, he'd understand just a little bit more about the working man. God and guns keep us strong.